Welcome to episode 323 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. I appreciate you tuning in for this one. And for those in the live audience, I apologize. And Shane, this is the second time I have missed a recording, but I think the first one live. Don't you feel special after 323?
I feel honored. I just read that you did 323 episodes, and that's a clap. Hats off for you anyway. So you're doing well.
Thank you, gosh. I mean, can you be surprised for a property like Stargate, though, which had such an impact on the Vancouver film industry? Does that make sense?
Yeah, big. You know what? Yeah. Well, the story kind of started how I got involved in that. I worked with Richard Dean a few times. He cast me, him and his business partner at the time, Henry Winkler, were doing MacGyver.
Henry Winkler or Michael Greenberg?
Henry Winkler was produced. He was an executive.
I didn't know that.
They had cast me as young MacGyver, and then I had worked with Richard Dean. Yeah, so then he cast me in Stargate, the original one, the Stargate, and then in Atlantis years later. So I worked with him dozens of times. I wouldn't say he's a good friend of mine, but he knew who I was, and I loved working for him, and it was kind of the early start to my career in the late 80s, early 90s.
I want to get into Stargate in a little bit here. One of the things that I love about this show now is talking with you weren't a child by any means, you were a teenager, but talking with all of the young actors when they were really just getting started in their careers, and being able to communicate with them now through this, it has afforded me an opportunity to get both of their perspectives on their world from then and from now. And the question that I always ask right off the top is the acting bug. Did you get it, or did your parents give it to you? Was this something like, oh, we think that you should do this, you're handsome? Or was it like, Mom and Dad, please let me do this?
No, well, kind of a little bit of both, because I had just moved to Vancouver from Edmonton. My dad had migrated here because he had business purposes. And my younger brother went and played hockey and did his thing in sports. My older brother became a lifeguard. So my mother was like, you need to do something to go meet friends. You need to get out there. And I was too small to play hockey. I was too small to play most sports. So I just started doing a little bit of like modeling. I did like that. There's a Sears catalog model search thing that they do in Canada once a year, and my mom submitted photos of me for that, and I ended up winning it, which is crazy.
Hey.
Flew to Toronto, shot on it, and I was in the Sears catalog later that fall. So that was kind of the start of it, because that got me an agent. I got an agent here in Vancouver that did print and acting and stuff. And so he just basically said, listen, you've got to, obviously you have a unique look. You play the young boy really well. Let's get you seeing if you could do some speaking commercials, that kind of thing. So he started submitting me for commercials, and then one thing led to another. And that's actually how I started. Was I got my first audition was for MacGyver. Actually, it was for 21 Jump Street. It was for 21 Jump Street. Yeah. So it was a Peter DeLuise, and like way back in the day, and this was a late 80s, and it was one or two lines, but I ended up getting it. I booked it, and then I auditioned after that for MacGyver. That turned into I think 2 or 3 episodes of MacGyver, and then it just snowballed from there. First feature film that I did was The Unforgiven, 1991.
Wow.
We shot that in 91, playing Clint Eastwood's son. So that was huge. That opened up a ton of doors. That got me. So it's very much like all these young actors always ask me, like, do you just get into it and get this big part? And I'm like, no. It's just baby steps. It's one part leads to another. That leads to, this, and then you're starring, and then you're a guest. Like, it just kind of evolves. So The Unforgiven turned into Needful Things, which was a huge Stephen King film.
Yes.
And then that turned into another film called Andre. And then it all kind of, like I said, it's like a stairway. And same with TV and television. The same thing. You have 1 or 2 lines here that turns into a supporting, and then it turns into a star, and then a guest star, and then actually your own television series, which I had as well up here in Vancouver. So,
do you feel that in any way that doing all these adult jobs at such a young age, do you feel that you missed your childhood at all?
Uh, I don't think I missed my childhood. I mean, I did miss graduations of, when I graduated grade 6 or whatever it was, or
Yeah,
grade 5 to go into junior high. I missed that.
yeah.
There was little things that, like, I missed going to camp in the summertime because I was busy shooting The Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. Now you think about that now, you're like, oh my God, you know,
Yeah.
3-time Oscar, 4-time Oscar winner, whatever. But back then, I didn't even know who Clint Eastwood was. I had zero clue. I thought he was just this old man that did a bunch of movies, and my mom was all awestruck with him, but I had no idea who he was.
That too.
I was a little bit more pissed off that I wasn't going to camp. So
Uh,
you miss out on a little bit, but you gain so much. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I learned so much as a youth on film sets. I still got my high school diploma. I still graduated. I was able to do all that stuff, but I got my own university degree, as they say, as like traveling down to the United States and shooting a film in Salt Lake City for 2 months when I was 15, 14,
wow.
traveling to Thailand, shooting in Thailand with Jean-Claude Van Damme when I was 17, to shoot a film called The Quest. So it took me kind of everywhere, and I learned so much in doing so.
It sounds like the trade-offs were worth it. It sounds like you think that the trade-offs were largely worth it too.
Of course, yeah. I did a lot of people. I think I was talking to somebody the other day about it. I kind of think it did things in reverse. It's like normally you graduate and then you grind making little money until you retire when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, and that's when you made all your
Mhm.
money. But I kind of flipped it. I made all my money when I was younger as a child actor. And it's sort of going the other way because
Mhm.
I'm not making quite as much money as I used to when I was a kid. But hey, you know what? Again, I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Do you have kids?
No kids, so I'm saving money there.
What I mean is, if were they to approach you, would you say, "Okay, let's go. I did it," or
I
would you have a different perspective now?
I would. That's a tough. I think I would say when you turn either 16, 17, or 18, you could make that choice.
Wow.
I think the early stages are, you gotta, that's when you're kind of building your persona. And I like, listen, I had a lot of fun, but you're hanging out with all adults, right? All
Yeah.
these films that I was on, I was by far the youngest person. There's no other young kids there to play with you. You go
Mhm.
to school offset you get a tutor that's your own tutor, which is great for learning, but you're not playing catch with your buddies. You're
Mhm.
not, playing street hockey and bugging your friends and your younger brother and throwing stuff, playing hide and seek and all that stuff. So I would say you gotta, you can do whatever you want. When you turn 16, you make your own choice. You could drive yourself to these auditions, fill your boots.
That makes a lot of sense. Can you share with me um, a part that profoundly? This is not a leading question. Mostly, I ask everyone this question. Can you share a part from your life that profoundly impacted you in ways that you expected or didn't expect, that challenged you in ways that you didn't necessarily anticipate? Um, what would that be?
Well, right off the get-go, I mean, it's arguably the biggest project that I've always been attached to is the Matthew Shepard story. Obviously, um, I knew the story because it had happened, I think, 2 or 3 years prior, and I read about it in like Time magazine or something. Somebody had an article about this poor kid that was beaten and tied to a fence. It's back when hate crimes were very rare, unlike they are today. And I remember getting the audition from my agent, and my agent saying, this is a good one. Do you know who this is? And I said, yeah, I guess sort of do, but I just treated it like any other audition. My whole thing was like, get the audition and then on to the next. You don't want to dwell on it because then you start going bananas, right? You start
Mhm.
thinking about, oh, did I do this wrong? I wonder if they're going to cast this guy. Did I not get it? Do I get a callback? Do I not get a callback? So I just kind of do it. All right, on to the next. So um, that one I did, and we got feedback right away from my agent. They said there's interest in this for sure. They're going to shoot it in Toronto, so they're looking for Canadian actors. But
Mhm.
it's the second position. It's a big star. They won't say who it was. It's a big star plays the mother, and then you're the second lead. So that's when it started getting kind of real. I started doing research on Matthew Shepard. I started Googling. I did every kind of research that I could for my callback auditions, and I had 2 or 3 callbacks. Um, but then the actual shooting of the film and talking to Judy Shepard, doing the due diligence and doing all the investigative work with the director and finding out specifics of, okay, he moved to, okay, so from Laramie he moved to Denver. Denver is kind of when he got into the trouble, blah 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 blah. So I just started kind of engulfing myself into that world, and being a heterosexual male, it was a complete change for me. So I was researching all of that side, which is not, it was completely foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I was embracing everything and trying to absorb as much as I could as an actor. And I treated it with a crazy amount of respect and a crazy amount of professionalism. And then I, cut to 3 or 4 years later when the whole project's finished. And has that affected me the most out of anything? 100%. 100%. I mean, what this poor child went, what the poor family went through, it's mind blowing, and I'll always be attached to that. That's the I'm most proud of the work that I did, and it's a shame that that kind of thing is happening way more often than it should.
Were you nervous meeting Junie? And
No.
was there any part of you once you let me back up. I want to get to that. Can we spend some time with him?
Of course.
Okay, how do I want to frame this? David's drawing a blank for a moment because it's a big story. Had you ever played a real person before?
Good question. I have.
Okay.
I have other movie of the week films that I did that were based on true stories,
Okay.
but nothing to this degree.
So this wasn't total undiscovered country for you. This was like, okay, you're not shaping a performance completely. You're also taking in information and incorporating it.
Yes. Now the other films that I was associated with, they were based on true events.
Yes.
I didn't. The person that I was portraying was not murdered. Like this wasn't a murder. It was I'm thinking of, I can't even remember the name. Oh, it was the film I did with James Marsden. It was hilarious. We shot it in Calgary, and it was these 2 kids kidnap a husband and wife, and they actually hold her up for ransom, but they don't die. They don't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody gets murdered. So they didn't really, I don't even think they went to jail, to be honest with you. I don't. Somebody might want to fact check me on that, but it wasn't as serious as this. This poor child was murdered. His family and his mother is still big advocates. He is a martyr in the world. Like he's very well known in the gay community. Everybody knows. Ellen DeGeneres said his eulogy at his funeral. I mean, Elton John wrote a song on this guy. I mean, this is all the research stuff that I was doing. So when that dawned on me, that's when things got super serious. And to answer your question, it was like, no, like this was an anomaly. And I don't think I'll ever portray anybody to this caliber again. And that's fine. I'm super fine with that.
The 2 things that I would, putting myself in your shoes in that situation, be terrified of is meeting Mom.
Yeah.
And after that, the conversation, well, depending on how the talk went with her, the first one, it may be different. But part of me would be like, what if I don't have it in me to do this young man justice? What if I not fail, but what if I just don't have it to pull off? Did they pick right? Did that ever occur to you?
No.
Good.
It doesn't.
Okay,
it's so bizarre. It's like kind of like if you're playing in the Stanley Cup playoff and you're like, this is game 7. We're freaking winning this thing. You're not thinking about it. When you dive into a big performance like that, I mean, it was a huge one. They moved me. I went to Toronto, I was in Toronto for 7 weeks. I did a bunch of traveling with them. We shot in Calgary for another week after that, traveled with Stockard. And so it was a massive, massive thing. So I didn't even, I'm like, I need to play. I'm going to do the best job that I possibly can. That's it. That's the only thing I was thinking of. If people don't like the way that I performed it, or that a heterosexual male portrayed him, like maybe that community, maybe the gay community is going to get pissed off at that. And I just said, I can't even think about that. I need to focus on the performance and getting through this this stressful 7-week shoot, which it was, because I was literally in, I think, almost 95% of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my focus, man. Head down, do what you're here to do what they're paying you to do. That's perform and do the best performance you can.
Did Judy see her son in you?
So yeah, let's get to that story. So I had flown to Toronto, and they had I had my hair pretty much like this. And Matthew Shepard had long hair. So when I met with Roger, the director, he's like, "Well, shit, we got to get this guy long hair.
Yeah.
He doesn't like." So I spent like 5.5 hours at this place in Yorkville getting extensions made.
That's fake?
Yeah.
Wow, I couldn't tell.
So, yeah. So when, I would lay down I would go to sleep at night, wake up, and there'd be chunks of hair everywhere. It was hilarious. But once I got the hair in, I'm telling you, Dave, it was nuts. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh shit,
Here he
this
is.
I could see the resemblance. I could see the resemblance.
Yeah.
Like I was like, holy shit, this. I look like him because I had the wardrobe, and then I started, started acting like him. I was hanging out in some of the gay communities in Toronto, and so Judy had flown in the first week of shooting to do. There was a bunch of press that needed to be done with Entertainment Tonight, and like it was huge. It was as big as we can get, and they put us in the same hotel, which I didn't think was the smartest idea. I hadn't met her yet, hadn't talked to her, and I remember talking to the producers and saying, "Listen, can you organize a dinner or something where I could show her that this is Shane, this is not Matthew?" And
right.
Because if we cross paths in the lobby or in the elevator, like that's just going to be absolutely, like, it's going to be heartbreaking for her. Could you imagine that scene? You're like,
it hit her like a bag of hammers. I know it would, because you've been fashioned at this point to resemble someone she lost tragically.
Exactly. Like 5 years before, 4 years ago, not even three years ago, or something like that. So I was pretty adamant about that. Well, guess what happened? I knew it would happen. I was going to the gym or something like that in the lobby, and I see an SUV pull up in the door, and a bunch of people get out, and I walk out to go to the gym, and she walks right past me, right outside. And I don't know, literally lost my breath, and we stopped and turned around, and I said to her, I said, "Judy, I'm so sorry. This was not meant to happen. This was not, we were supposed to," I couldn't even get it out, but she just kind of almost teared up. She basically did tear up, and she held me, and I said, "We are going to do justice. This is going to be a great film, and I'm going to do as best job as I possibly can. And I'm honored and privileged to play your son because, he meant the world to a lot of people, and I'm going to do the best." And it was, she had a tear in her eye, and she gave me a big hug. But she's a doll. She's like, "You are going to be amazing." And she goes, "We're doing dinner tomorrow, right?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I think that was supposed to be how we were supposed to meet, but we're like," so anyways, it was awkward. And I ended up, I think I tore a strip off of somebody in the production office for that happening. But that was the development of a great relationship, and we're still friends. She's my buddy. She calls me all the time, text messages me all the time to see how things are doing. She messaged me when, with all the weird presidential stuff going down south, and all the tariff stuff going up north here, and she says, can I still be friends with my best Canadian friend?" So I said, "You're more than welcome to." Yeah.
Oh man, what performance. What was the hardest day to shoot?
Oh, well, mentally, the start of the
mentally
show.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's available for free on a number of different websites. Just Google the Matthew Shepard story 2002. You go right for the jugular right away. This is like, we're not gonna like lead our way to this iceberg, and the iceberg immediately. This is what happened to this kid. We're gonna portray it right from the get-go. And even for 2002, it's pretty darn, especially for 2002, it's pretty darn intense. And the director did not shy away from that.
Yeah, they went all out. They wrote a great opening piece there that just leaves your jaw on the ground, and I think that's why they got all the praise. I think they might have been, correct me if I'm wrong here too, but I think they got an Emmy, or they got an award for the writing. And it was that was a tough scene to do. We shot it. It was a night scene, obviously, so you got to start at 11, 12 o'clock at night. We shoot right to 7:30 in the morning. But you're physically getting bound. I mean, you're getting dragged out of a truck and then bound to a tree, and then all the whipping and stunt.
Did you get hurt at all?
Mine just little whiplash stuff. I mean, you're doing that for 4.5 to 5 hours while we're pouring blood, fake blood all over, and freezing. It's cold in Toronto. We shot it in I think it was April or May, so it wasn't even spring really there. So it was cold, and that was a tough night, man. I remember going back to the hotel at 8 in the morning, 9, 10 in the morning, and I got to be buddies with the door guy, and he just, hey Shane. I was like, don't call me Mr. Meier. I hate it. Here's this like 27-year-old kid, and they're calling me Mr. Meier. You call my dad that. That's fine. But I just told him I had a long day. I need some sleep, and I just went upstairs and decompressed for a few hours. That was a tough one.
Wow. And the premiere?
Premiere was awesome. You know what the thing is, Roger, so we did the ADR, which is the voice dialogue recording we need to do. We did that in Montreal for some reason. I think because that's where Roger was from, or Roger was living. He's the director. So I flew to Montreal to do ADR for a few days, and he gave me a copy, which is crazy. He gave me a DVD, and he said, I remember him looking at me, he goes, you did an amazing job, and you should be extremely proud of yourself. And I gave him a hug, said goodbye to him, came home, and I think it was like November-ish, and I was flying back to Saskatchewan, where I'm originally from. And I told all my family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, I said, we're going to do a little mini premiere at my aunt's house. She's got a big little projector, and you guys are going to be the first audience to see this. I think Atlantis would probably lose their mind if they knew that I was like 6 months before the actual premiere, but
this is pre-social media. You're good.
Yeah. I premiered it to them, and my mom couldn't watch it. She still has never seen it. Never seen it.
How did you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
You just can't watch it. She says it's too dark. Not only because it's her son now, but also the story behind it. She was very familiar with Matthew Shepard, so she knew who that was. So she just I saw your clips and the stuff. But there's stuff that she doesn't need to see. That there's a lot of scenes that she just won't watch, and but the rest of my family watched it, and it was a pretty solemn night, man. Everybody was pretty quiet, and then their jaws were on the ground, and I think there was a few tears shed for sure.
You did amazing.
And then the actual premiere. Yeah. I was living in LA at the time and went to that, and I don't do a lot of red carpet stuff, but I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I went with a friend of mine, and we went down there and did the whole red carpet thing, and I felt important and special. I put on a cool suit and watched it with a small audience. A really cool incident was after. We had Jodie Foster there. Obviously, Jodie Foster was friends with Stockard Channing and Roger Spottis with the director as well, and Goldie Hawn. So she got invited. And after when everybody's mingling out in the lobby, she figured out where I was and went up to me and gave me a big bear hug. I think I know there's a photo. There you go. Yeah. So there's 4 extremely powerful women right there.
Wow.
You got Judy in the middle, Jodie on the right, Stockard, and Jodie Foster. Yeah. Amazing women, and you know what? They all. But when Jodie Foster came, I love Jodie Foster. She came up and talked to me, and she said, "You're amazing. You felt that was a great job. Where do you live? Are you from here? Where?" And I'm like, "I live in Vancouver, but I'm here now."
What vindication,
right?
After every shelling out that performance, you're not a typical person cannot pull this off. They really had to. Not only do you have to look like him, but you have to make people believe that you're him, people who knew him. So
that was my focus, was do the head down, and like I said from the start, do the best job that you can, and you'll get some feedback. You'll get rewarded for it. So that's all I can do.
Powerful stuff, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Let's go a couple of years before. Stargate SG-1. 100 Days is one of my favorite episodes, and it's controversial among fandom. Because there are a lot of Jack Sam shippers out there, And this is one where it's almost all Rick, and the team is just, trying to claw their way to him for the entire episode. Tell me about the Adorans. Tell me about Garan. Tell me about getting this part.
Well, like I said, it was. I know that Rick had. Rick probably had a say in it. I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure. I mean, at that time, I was pretty hot in the 12 to 16-year-old category. I remember, to be honest with you, I don't remember the audition, but I do remember working on it and working with Rick again. It was working with, and he's great. He's hilarious. He's funny. He loved Vancouver. He wasn't like some actors that come to Vancouver for 9 months and they talk shit about it. He loved it. He loved Vancouver. He's a hockey guy, right? Like that's what my MacGyver days with him were his flashback scenes were when he was a young hockey player, when MacGyver was the hockey player. So, he's a big hockey guy and he just loves Vancouver. Anyways, we shot in Vancouver. It was I think a 10-day shoot or something. I had with a good friend of mine, actually a good friend of mine's sister, Julie Patzwald. I don't know if you recognize that, but the two Stargates I did, Stargate 1 and Atlantis. Well, Julie Patzwald, who is a dear friend of mine, she is in both of them.
I didn't know she's in the other one too.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So, God rest her soul. We lost her a number of years ago, but she was a real special girl, and she was a local actress. And again, I went to high school with her sister, so very close connection there. We had great chemistry. So when you sent me the show to watch, I was watching it the other night, and I had a tear in my eye because we lost her way, way, way too young. And she's such a great performer, and we worked well together on screen. So it was fun working with her. It was fun working with Rick. And I agree with you. It was like that. I didn't watch a lot of the Stargate, the first Stargate. I didn't know there was a lot of relationship stuff going on, but I always thought that this was like the first love, kind of love thing that they had going.
The one where he fell in love. Yes.
Yes.
Married against his will. No.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's when I rewatched it the other night, I go, oh, this is actually very sweet because he's like he was emotional in a couple of the scenes, and that's something that you just didn't see from him often, right?
And it was an interesting choice, although the opposite choice would have caused more attention in the script and more focus to be placed on the two of you's relationship. But it was I always recognize the fact that Garen's set up as not being resentful of Jack for basically moving into his home. He's already, before the trouble starts, the firing starts, he's already he already is imitating Jack in terms of certain phrases and everything else.
Yeah, he's like, who is this cool guy? That's cool or whatever the line was. But you could tell that there was some admiration and some, this guy's awesome. This is great.
It's a great show. It's a great hour for Rick, and he had a great supporting cast. I'm still trying to get Michelle on because in so many ways it's her show.
Yes.
The story really focuses on her.
Did a fantastic job, man. And again, the late Julie. And we, I watched the other one, the other episode you sent me. I'm blanking on which one with the name.
Childhood's End.
Childhood End. There you go. Much smaller part. I remember I was rewatching that one going, am I even in this thing? But there is a backstory to that too. The director was I had worked with the director previously. So,
David Winning.
Yeah, David's good and still a good friend of mine. Great guy. I worked with him on Jack London's Call of the Wild. I played the lead actor on Call of the Wild. So he directed an episode of that. Then he's just said, hey, do you want to do this? Not the biggest part, but you know what? It's going to get you employed and it's going to get you hanging out with me again. I said, yeah, why not? And so another 5 or 7 day shoot with another friend of mine, and I had a lot of fun.
Wow. Are you a sci-fi fan? Do you find yourself being drawn to stories like this, or are you?
I do. I mean, I never really kind of got into the Stargate 1. I did, especially the film, and then the first few episodes of the first few seasons of the TV series. But then I think what did they do? 12, 13
They did 10 seasons of SG-1.
Right. So
214. Yeah. Guys, where you're going, I can't follow that much. I mean, come on. I have hockey to do.
And I am a sci-fi. I do love. I mean, that's the joy about these streaming services, right? You get on Netflix the other night, or Hulu, or whatever, Paramount, and just type in sci-fi, and holy shit, there's a
Yeah.
plethora. And
Oh,
the one I'm watching right now is a Argentinian sci-fi thing. So it's
what's it
like
called?
every country. I can't even pronounce it. It starts with an E. It just came out last week, and it's about like the world ending, and it snows this. Like the snow is toxic and it kills people instantly. It's actually quite funny. But again, you can get into all these countries are putting them out, right? And it's like, okay, look at Romania. They've got a sci-fi Netflix section, and you're going to find something in there that's worth watching.
Eternaut.
Yeah, that is it. Eternaut.
Interesting. Very good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love I love the tapestry of science fiction because it allows us to really hold a mirror to the audience and say, this could be you given this set of circumstances. Will you
Yeah.
take my hand and let me show you how? And in one hand, it's very much you have to really be careful of the balance between being too preachy but sharing a
Right.
message at the same time, you know? And it doesn't have to,
Yeah.
but I think that that is what sci-fi does best because you can do any kind of genre and couch it in some kind of an element that is foreign enough that the audience won't necessarily feel like they're being beat over the head with it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
You know what does that beautifully is Deus Machina. You know, like that's or Deus Machina, however you want to
Deus
say
Ex
it. But
Machina. Are
yeah,
you
I
talking
mean,
about
it's
the with the female robot?
yeah, like that's
Ex
something where
Machina.
yeah, yeah, that's right. So you're
Yeah.
like can happen, and that is happening. Like
You know.
this incredible robot that looks very real, and it's you're exactly right. Like you could sit, you could be in that world. Just let your mind kind of go on this little journey, and that's what, like you said, that's the cool thing about sci-fi.
What do you think
And
about how quickly AI is moving? Do you think we're ready?
it's nuts, man. It's especially in the film TV world, but it's happening everywhere. Like I'm in the retail world now, and or you look at everything from restaurants. They're all starting to like there's restaurants that don't have waiters or anything. They're robots that come up and drop your food off.
Droids.
Yeah, I mean it's happening. We just gotta. It's bizarre. You gotta either embrace it or just. I mean, my mother doesn't even know how to work an iPhone, so.
It's my father. Oh God. Jeez. But
Yeah.
the stuff that's coming into the entertainment industry, I just saw a clip a couple of days ago from I think it's the second Venom, and I haven't seen them, where these visual effects guys analyze the material. And it's clear they are now using AI to not to create, but to augment the visual effects. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but there's a scene where he has tendrils and he's grabbing everything around him. And they've thrown this, the guys are speculating, they've thrown this thing at an AI to add all these thousands and thousands of tendrils in the shot as he's either dying or transforming. And they've instructed it to just be aware of the collision in the environment. Because an artist sitting there and putting that together, it would have taken hundreds of man hours, and they throw it at a computer and you look at it and they're going, I can't believe how real this looks. It's wild.
It is wild. Yeah, it's I think you just got to embrace it. It sucks. Again, I'm not much in the film world these days because it is going to take jobs. I mean, somebody told me that there's a film being made in Canada, in Vancouver, that was AI written, like Chat GTP wrote it. It's like, hey, write a film about a guy that moves to a mountain town and falls in love with a girl, but then ends up witnessing a murder. And it's like, next thing you know, boom, 90-page script is written.
Mm-hmm. But it still can't generate novelty yet, though. We still have that edge.
Sure, yeah.
It doesn't dream yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in retail now. How often are you acting, and are you more selective about the things that you consider
you know
doing?
what I like to kind of like, I mean, that Matthew Shepard thing is tough to top, right? And I was always kind of up in that thing where it's, you want to always do better than your last gig kind of thing, whether it's a bigger part or a better project or a better director or whatnot. So there's always reasoning for the way that my career had moved. And I got to that kind of ceiling with the Matthew Shepard thing Um,
Hmm.
that was a tough one to kind of like be better. I couldn't do anything more than that unless I moved to Los Angeles, become a full time, you know, just head down trying to act down there, and I did do that for a little bit, but then I got cast in something that shot back in Vancouver, which was this Canadian TV show, which got crazy critical acclaim, called Intelligence, which was a friend of mine that produced and created that. Um,
It sounds
so
sci-fi.
no, it's
Oh,
based. It's reality. It's actually a really good, and you'd love it. It's a really good program. It's I think you can get it on Netflix
I'll check it
now.
out.
Two seasons,
Intelligence. Okay.
yeah, 2 seasons, and it's
Okay.
based on the Canadian, Vancouver drug cartels and the smuggling of marijuana and dope over the borders, and CSIS, how CSIS is tied and involved. It's actually, and it's very accurate. So in fact, that's the rumor, was that's the reason why we got canceled, because it was just too accurate. And CBC is obviously government run, so they decided to pull the plug, as they say, because
You
it
mean we've done
was,
our job too well, guys? Oh, great. Thanks. No season 3. That's
yeah,
terrific. Wow.
beautifully written, beautifully performed. In fact, that's right there. That's basically a Canadian Emmy
Wow.
award.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So yeah, it was great. So, anyways, back to the
Yeah.
point of this is just I didn't I kind of just was like, you know what, this is, I wasn't getting submitted for stuff that I wanted to do, that I was really passionate about. So I took a little step back and kind of got into this other world, and it's opened up a more of an entrepreneurial business side of my brain that I've never opened before, where it's like, okay, how do we do this? How do we buy? How do we hire? How do we fire? How do we project? How do we open store? I opened my own store. I financed it, basically like producing a film, right? Financed, opened the store, found the location, gutted it, renovated it, bought the supplies, bought the inventory, and opened a store, and had a store for 5 years. Um,
Wow. It's not still around.
recently, I canceled, or sorry, canceled it. I recently shut it down post COVID, but the point is that it's kind of taken a little bit of that artistic hunger that I had, and put it into a different business model.
The creative people have a drip that they can't shut off.
Very
It
true.
has to come out somewhere.
Exactly.
And I think it's interesting from your perspective, because having achieved true success in your craft so young, for other actors, I would think, who didn't want to do anything else, that would be a huge trap that they couldn't get out of. But for you,
Yeah.
it's like, we're going to pivot now. I'm thankful to have had that. Now, what else I got in the tank? Because I still got plenty of tank left.
You're 100% right, and you're like the first person to actually literally say it out loud, and you nailed it on the head. I see a lot of and I love them all. They're all good friends of mine. They're extremely talented, but a lot of Vancouver actors that just are kind of in that spiral of just doing one or two projects. And now with the economy and everything the way that it is, maybe
Right.
maybe one spot on a show every couple of years, and maybe they have a family and a car payment and a mortgage and kids to pay for. It's like, how do you sustain yourself? You have, it's
Right.
tough. So you're right. You take that creative, artistic information and put it into something that's not even in the arts. Like retail isn't really arts, right? A musician can go from writing music to maybe writing poetry, or a painter could maybe stop painting paintings and start writing novels or something like that. Mine is like, all right, I'm gaining the knowledge about how to produce and make money, really, and put it into another business.
Yeah, but you're
Um,
still creating for yourself and others. You and I are very similar that way. We're very
yes,
pragmatic. I have
yeah,
friends who are like, well, this is what I went to school for. It's like, yeah, but you need to eat. You can't just live with your mother forever. Don't
yeah,
you feel bad about that in some way, shape, or form? You're pragmatic, you make it work, and you
yeah.
recognize that you will find your way.
Yeah. Yeah. The hustle doesn't get lost. I mean, I'm
No,
always, I'm always like, okay, what's that? Okay, we got those jackets coming in. What else? Oh my God, I forgot. I didn't order enough jeans. I gotta get triple the amount of denim. So let's order this. So you're budgeting for this, and your brain is constantly moving. It's just moving at a different pace.
that's it. You can't teach drive to someone. You
Right.
you can't teach the go get 'em nature of someone, and that really is the biggest difference when it comes right down to it, between someone who's going to have lifelong success and someone who's just going to spin in the mud.
And that's full circle to what you started the conversation with. Right? Would you tell your child if you had a child?
Yeah.
When I was younger, it did give me a sense of, okay, I'm doing something and I'm getting paid for. So like, I don't want to spend my money. You got to make sure that that money is there for when you want to, when you need to spend it, or when you're older and you have to spend it. So it gave me a business sense at a very, very young age, and I'll be forever grateful for that, for sure.
I have a
I was paying my own cell phone bill when cell phones just came out.
and they were this big.
Those Motorola things. I had one, and I was 13, and I was in grade 8 with this big thing, but I had to pay the bill. I knew my mom showed me how to do it, and so be it. And that's kind of how now it's just evolved into this completely different ballgame.
Oh God, no sexting on the big Motorola phones, right? I've got a couple of fan questions for you. You have a little bit more time?
Yep.
Peace Rider, the RDA stuff was answered, so Peace Rider apologizes. I massage this into something else. Any takeaways from working with Clint Eastwood? Anything that stuck with you?
Plenty. First of all, didn't know who the hell he was. Like I said, my mom. I knew who Morgan Freeman was because I was a big fan of his. I had seen him in all these films. But hey, man, I was 12 at the time, or 11. I didn't know spaghetti westerns. Like, I didn't know what the hell that was. But a true gentleman. My mom was a little starstruck with him, and he treated her with the utmost. First thing he said to her was, "You checked into the hotel, okay? Great. Did you get the driver was there? Did you get you guys per diem? Awesome, great. So we're just gonna go over here with your son, and we're gonna do this scene over here. You got everything over here? Did you get some coffee? Did you just a sweetheart?" A true professional. He doesn't like the thing about it. He uses the same crew, so the crew came to us like. They came from California to Calgary. So
That's
it's all
loyalty.
Yeah. It's like working with you're on the same hockey team. You're like, it's amazing. Everybody knew each other. They don't use radios. They, like there was no radio, loud walkie talk, because that gets kind of annoying.
Smoke signals? I mean, how do you pull that? Hey, you, Clint.
Yeah, they had earpieces, and if there was any loud talking, it had to be offset. Now, set you can only get to by walking. We drove our shuttles would drop us off about, I don't know, half a mile away. We'd have to walk in because he wanted that authenticity. So that's another reason why they probably don't have the radios. There's no smoking. It's very quiet. It's very organized.
Making as much period piece as possible.
For sure.
That's wild. Did you find it helped the performance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you were there.
Oh, he shot half the rehearsals. I remember him saying, he goes, "Shane, do me a favor." And this is back when let's say the camera's here. He would be sitting on a chair. There's no video village. There's no computers. This is 1990, 91. And he would call the roll he would stand by the camera. But half the time, the set deck guys are in there moving the pigs or doing something. And he would just say, "Hey, Shane," and he would just flick the camera on, and he would record the rehearsal. He goes, "Do me a favor and bring that last pig, bring him over on the side here and put him in that corral." And they would just film it while I was doing it. No, it wasn't part of the scene. He was just getting that, and then he ended up using it. He used that in the film, which is crazy. Wow. Yeah, wow. True artist.
Raj Luthra. Raj, I'm going to take part of your idea and move it forward. Did you manage to snag any souvenirs from either of the Stargate shows? And what do you feel about the story that was Childhood's End, that was these kids sacrificing themselves because they think that it's the only way to keep the Wraith away? Pretty intense story. Martin Garrow, who wrote it, he and I were close for years, and this was his story.
Yeah, very intense. I just rewatched, like I told you, like a couple of nights ago, and oh my God, like some of the dialogue is very, and the way that I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he did it.
David Hewlett.
Yeah. He's like, they were talking about, so what happens when you reach that? And then he's like, "I sacrificed myself." And it's just dark, but very sincere. And it's very intense. So yeah, I was rewatching it 20 years later was very kind of jaw-dropping, like, holy shit.
Oh, Courtney, I think we were talking about Courtney Stevens, who played Karis. Courtney was great.
Phenomenal. Yeah. played it very beautifully. And did I take anything away? I don't, you know what? I used to do a thing where I kept this, either the call sheets or the scripts. I think I still have the script. I'm pretty positive about that. But I didn't take anything. They had all the props were really cool, like the bow and arrow things and
The
all that
0
stuff.
point module.
Yeah, yeah.
You see this? You recognize that?
Yeah, look at it.
That's a replica.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, there's some. I really have enjoyed this time with you. Again, I apologize for coming in so late, but it means a lot to have you here. I'm really thankful that we got to explore Shepard's character. Folks, if you want to go to that website, it is MatthewShepard.org, SHEPHARD, and Erasing Hate since 1998, so it's 25 years now.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah, yeah. Some people, we never know. One of my quotes, and I borrow it from Stargate, is "Make good ripples." You know,
Yeah,
here's the puddle.
Great. Oh,
And
man.
when you go out into the world and you make a passing glance at someone, you never know how it's going to impact them later. It's so important to make good ripples when you go out into the world, as best as you can. You know, because you're not.
Just like you said, sometimes it just takes a smile, right? Just like somebody could be having a really shit day, and if you just smile and nod and acknowledge, that's all it takes, and that could really affect, like you said, it's the ripple effect, really affect them.
I appreciate our time together, man. This has meant a lot to me.
David, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, man. Appreciate it.
I'm going to wrap up the show on this side.
Perfect.
Be well.
Thank you.
Shane Meier, everyone. Garan and Neleus in Stargate, SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. My name is David Reed. You're watching Dial the Gate. We have a hell of a season moving forward for you here. We've got, if my web browser will cooperate with me, and it's not, okay, very good. We've got a number of shows coming up for you, but you can check out dialthegate.com and hopefully have better luck than I have. We have a fan episode coming up with, I believe, Fused Film. His name is Kevin Call, and he's an old friend of mine. We're going to be connecting together in a pre-recorded episode. Brenda James, William DeVry, and Craig Veroni are all heading your way next weekend. If you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a lot to me if you click that like button. It does make a difference with the show and will continue to help us grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gates and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. My tremendous thanks to my producers, Kevin, Anthony, and Linda. My moderators, Anthony, Jeremy, Kevin, Lockwatcher, Marcia, Raj, and Jacob. Welcome aboard, Jacob. And Frederick Marcoux over at Concepts Web, who takes dialthegates.com up and running. That's all I've got for you this extended weekend. I hope you've enjoyed this special Monday show. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I will see you on the other side.